Welcome back to Wellness with Delaney. Today is all about grounding. We haven't really touched on this topic, and I'm so excited to do so because I know a lot of you guys are either adding grounding into your routine or interested in doing so, but you're like, okay, wait, how do I even do it? I live in the city, yada, yada. And what is it? Like, how does it work? So today we're going to get into all that and more. I have James, the founder of Premium Grounding. It's an grounding sheets and earthing mats company. So it's a really great way to integrate grounding into your day-to-day lifestyle, especially just from the comfort of your own home. James, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Delaney. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to get talking about grounding.
I'm so excited. Okay, let's start really basic. Like, what is grounding for someone who literally has no idea?
Yeah, for sure. So, grounding essentially, and like the easiest way to think about it is whenever you're standing bare feet on a natural surface, such as grass or sand, that's grounding. So, essentially, what's happening is the earth is negatively charged, and there's electrons that flow into our body when we connect with it. And these electrons help to reduce things like inflammation and a buildup of free radicals, which is real. It has a lot of onset, sort of like a lot of health benefits that come off the back of that.
Amazing. Okay, for people who don't know what free radicals are, because that's another buzzword that I love to talk about, and I think sometimes people are like, okay, what is that? What are the free radicals, and why would something like grounding help eliminate them in the body?
I think the easiest way to think about free radicals is they are the body's natural defense to anything foreign that the body wants to defend against. So, for example, if there's pollution in the air, or if we're eating bad food or drinking water with impurities, the body creates free radicals to defend against that. So, that's a good thing, right? But because we're constantly fighting against these things, and it's not just one thing every now and then, it's a constant battle, the body builds up excess free radicals, and that's what leads to inflammation. And inflammation is obviously what leads to almost all diseases in modern life. And so free radicals clump together, and when they create the inflammation, that's when all the bad things happen. But as soon as we ground, the negatively charged electrons from the ground declump those free radicals. And so the inflammation gently starts to ease, and it can start to remove itself out of the body.
Oh, amazing. I love that. It's like the ultimate detox hack. People are doing all the sauna, all the cleanses, all the supplements, whatever. But I love that it can be so simple, like standing outside on natural ground. So for people who live in the city like I do, what about like, because I know a lot of the ground out here is sprayed. Is that still grounding or does that change the charge of the earth?
That won't change the charge. I guess you need to be careful of sprays if that's something that you're trying to avoid. But yeah, as long as you're standing on natural surfaces of the earth, then you're going to get that charge. So I think, like, without sounding too woo woo, the earth gives us everything we need, right?
Hmm.
But we've sort of removed ourselves from it over time. So up until about 100 years ago, we didn't wear shoes, and if we did wear shoes, they were leather soles. And so we'd still connect to that charge, but now we're all walking around in either plastic or rubber soles. And that literally blocks off that energy from the earth.
Wow.
And then we go inside and we're on carpet or floorboards, and we're no longer earthing. Like 100 years ago, people were sleeping on the earth. They were connected
Hmm.
to the earth when they were walking, like literally 24/7, they were connected. And I just think there's no coincidence that there's been such a rapid rise in diseases and like the modern ailments as we've moved away from what the earth has to offer. And like I said, I don't want to sound woo woo or too hippie, but like it's literally there for us, but we're not connecting with it, and then we're seeing all these problems on the back of that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's woo-woo at all. I mean, I personally do a lot of work with EMF, and my audience is very familiar with that. And it's kind of all the same. Like everything has an electric magnetic frequency, and like that can be good, it can be bad, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting too because I feel like I'm the least woo-woo person ever, but when it comes to frequency, like when you really break it down, it is like a very scientifically proven thing. We have man-made frequencies that can be harmful. We have natural frequencies that can be beneficial. We have, just a whole range. And I think that like when people realize we're all electrical beings and we connect with the earth and our environment in an electrical way, it's like it takes the woo-woo out. It's literally science, it's like
Yeah.
holistic health proven. So then for you, you have grounding sheets and earthing mats, right? Like how does that work? How can people integrate those into their own homes to get those same benefits?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, one thing to think about with the homes, which is completely different to say 100 years ago, like we're saying, is we're now constantly surrounded by electricity, which creates the EMFs. and also Wi-Fi and cell signals.
Mhm.
And it's not natural to our body. So these signals go into our body, and our body needs to figure out how to defend against that. And that's why it's creating more and more free radicals. So our bodies are taking in all these things that we've never had, like they're foreign to us after who knows how long we've been on the earth for, like millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years. All of a sudden, over the last 100 years, we've got all these things coming into our system. And people are wondering why they're so wired at night and why they can't sleep and why they
Mhm.
wake up tired even after they've slept for 8 hours. And so that's something that I'm always thinking about. I've always struggled with sleep up until a few years ago, getting to sleep and also staying asleep. And someone recommended grounding to me and then grounding sheets. And when I first heard about it, I was pretty skeptical. I'm someone who's always been into health and wellness. Like I wrote a book about well-being, the well-being revolution when I was 23. So I've like always been in this space. But someone recommended grounding sheets to me, and I was like, sounds a bit silly. Like I don't think that's going to work. But essentially, grounding sheets are a sheet that goes on your bed underneath your fitted sheet, and it's got 30% stainless steel in there. So it's got a conductive material. And then you plug it into the wall, and every plug or electrical socket in any first world country, so Australia, America, UK, etc., they're all wired with an earth cable. And an earth cable is literally a cable that goes through the back of the socket into the ground. And so it carries up the earth's charge,
Wow.
and that's there to stop discharges. So if there was ever any electrical issue with an appliance, connecting to the earth's energy discharges that electrical appliance. So essentially what we're doing is we're connecting into that earth cable. So the earth's energy is running up through and into the sheet. And because there's 30% stainless steel, which is conductive, that's taking in the earth's energy. So essentially it's the same as standing bare feet on the grass whilst you're sleeping. And what that does is it allows your body to discharge that energy whilst you're sleeping. So if there's any EMFs in your environment, if you've got your Wi-Fi on or your cell signals around in the atmosphere, that's being discharged out of your body whilst you're sleeping. And the flow and benefit of that is that it allows you to declump those free radicals and reduce that inflammation. And the typical result is people just have a much deeper rest and they wake up feeling a lot more rested and recovered.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, really curious because I've heard people say before, like, if you have your bed against the wall, like, push it away a little bit because of dirty electricity, whatever. But then what's the difference between like dirty electricity and what you're talking about, how our cables or like outlets actually plug into the earth?
I think the main thing to worry about is the EMFs in your
Okay.
environment. So regardless of dirty electricity, which is essentially electricity that feeds off the wires. So sometimes the electricity is supposed to go up through the wire and into the socket, and then
Mhm.
you connect your plug to it. Some wiring, if it's been done poorly, will allow those frequencies to come off out of the cables. So you might have cables
Mm.
running behind your wall where your bed is, and so
Okay.
that's essentially that dirty electricity might be coming through. But I think essentially we've all got EMFs that come out of the plug socket anyway. So whether you've got poor wiring and dirty electricity or not, you're still going to have EMFs in the house. And what we've found by testing is typically the EMFs are lowest on the ground floor because you're closest to the ground. But as you go up every story, the EMFs get worse.
Oh.
So I've got a 2-story house. On the bottom floor, the reading on a multimeter is usually around 2 volts of electricity, and when I go upstairs, it's around 8. So
Wow.
I'm sure if I went up to a 3rd story, it's going to be even higher again. So
Yeah.
the further away you are from the ground, the more important it is. But essentially, as soon as you connect to the ground, either by standing on it or by laying on a grounding sheet, all of that energy discharges out of your body. So you go from 2 volts or 8 volts running through your body to 0 volts.
Wow. Okay, this is really cool. And it's interesting too, because I feel like a lot of houses are actually built to have, all of the bedrooms on the top floor. And so people are sleeping in a more EMF riddled space, right? Like they're spending 8 hours a night sleeping in that space when it should be really restorative. So I feel like something like this could be a really good option. I guess I can share this now and ask you this question because by the time this episode comes out, it should be announced. But I'm in my second trimester of pregnancy and I have been having the
Congratulations.
worst. Thank you. I've been having the worst insomnia. Like it's been great, but one thing is I'm so tired because I'm having insomnia. For someone like me that's like literally struggling to get to sleep and stay asleep at night, is this an option for people to experience deeper sleep and like better rest?
It definitely is. So yeah, huge congratulations. That's awesome
Thank
news.
you.
my wife's 34 weeks pregnant at the moment,
Oh,
and so
congrats.
she's getting close to she's not far away really from giving
Yeah.
birth. Probably by the time this airs, she'll have had the little one. But yeah, she's slept on a grounding sheet the whole way through the pregnancy, and she didn't have a grounding sheet for the first pregnancy, and we've noticed that she's just feeling a lot more rested.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a magic cure or anything, and like a lot of people go through a lot of tough sleeping periods through
Yeah.
pregnancy, so I'm not saying that we're like the magic cure for that, but we do find that it helps you feel more rested, and when you
Yeah.
do get to sleep, you're getting deeper sleep. So yeah, that's definitely important. And then yeah, I think you were mentioning the second story. Like, millions of people live in apartment buildings, and some are like a
Mm,
long way away from the ground, and there's so
yeah.
much electricity in the building. So I think yeah, the further away you get from the ground, the more important it is, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm imagining because I have my like I don't know if you've heard of them, but I feel like really up your alley, like my Aries Tech, like EMF modulators. And then imagining
Yeah.
that plus like a grounding sheet would just be absolute magic. You know, we're modulating the bad EMF, we're bringing in the good, and just creating this like harmonious bubble to sleep in would just be sounds like a dream. And yeah, it's like anecdotally, obviously we're not saying this is like a magic pill for sleep, but anecdotally, it sounds like it could be something that's really amazing for better sleep and better rest. Are you seeing people across the board reporting that they're like sleeping better and waking up more refreshed?
We are. When I first started the business, I thought our customers would be like a similar persona to us.
Yeah.
Who I guess
Hmm.
we're interested in health, and we're always looking for new things to improve our health.
Yeah.
But what I found is it's such a broad spectrum. So we get a lot of so starting from I guess the oldest group, there's a lot of people like 70 to 90 who I didn't even think would be finding our products, but they struggle with like joint pain or arthritis, or even just like they can't sleep well. So they're getting a lot of benefits, particularly for arthritis. That's one thing I didn't really know was going to be a big benefit for us. But yeah, joint pain, back pain, hip pain, that's really helping them. And then there's a lot of people around 40 to 60, particularly females going through menopause, where they've had some hormone changes, and then they're getting hot flashes and can't sleep well throughout the night. They're getting a lot of benefits. And also with the younger crew. So I'm 37, and I feel like I'm potentially one of the like the younger groups of people using it. But we've got people in their 20s who are saying that they were so wired at night, and it's sort of helping them settle down and calm themselves as they go to sleep, and then they're having better sleep. So yeah, pretty broad range. Also, people with neurodivergent issues. So we've got people with ADHD saying it helps them feel calmer. Parents of autistic kids who have said that it's made a big difference to them. So yeah, it's a pretty wide and impressive range of benefits that we're seeing.
That's amazing. Is that all? I feel like it maybe all connects to inflammation, especially like the arthritis, the neurodivergence, like ADHD, all of that. Is that just because of inflammation or are there deeper reasons?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's that our bodies are constantly fighting against something,
Yeah.
whether that's EMFs or if it's it could be stress, or it could be like just we're constantly bombarded in all angles, like the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just that the grounding subtly helps the body to remove those things, and when it's constantly fighting, it can't recover, and
Mhm.
so it gives the body the opportunity to actually stop fighting, so it could work on recovering.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, so then kind of you mentioned people like my age in their 20s who are tired and wired. And I know that feeling. I feel that feeling probably on a daily basis. And I feel that being somebody that does as many things as I can for my health, right? Like being outside as much as possible, I'm active, trying to sleep right now, but right now that's a little harder, but normally it's great like all these things, right? Diet, whatever. But I still often feel that tired and wired feeling. So I know for other people who maybe aren't doing as much for their health, they probably feel it at even higher degree. Why are people at a young age feeling that like really tired and sluggish when they wake up and then like wired and like can't sleep when they go to bed?
Personally, I think it's because we're just on screens all the time.
Yeah.
So when you're working, most people are looking at a screen for 8 hours or however long, and then we go home and the phones hook us in. Like we're looking at social media, or yeah, it's probably social media, or watching videos. And I think we're just constantly bombarded. We're looking at blue light. Our brains never actually get a chance to stop and just rest because we're
Mhm.
constantly chasing the next dopamine hit. I think that
Yeah.
I'd say that's the main thing. And then whilst we're doing that, we're constantly being hit by these EMFs, and our body just is having to fight against it over and over. And so we lay down and our bodies are full of all this charge that we've been taking in all day and doesn't know how to get rid of it. And so it's like, yeah, we're just in this constant state. So I think phones and technology has a big part to play in that. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say so. And sometimes I wonder, like, is it more the blue light from my screen, or is it the substance that I'm taking in, like the stimulation from like what I'm actually looking at on social media? Which one is it both? I don't know, probably. For
Probably.
you, how do you set healthy boundaries around screen time and like kind of like screen time hygiene, if you will?
Yeah, it's such a hard one, and I'm definitely not an expert, even though it's something
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a lot. But I mean, I run a business and we're busy. We've got over 30,000 customers and a lot of people reaching out to us every day. So I'd love to not have to look at a screen, but
Hmm.
I have to. So I just try to find ways to work with that. So like right now, whilst I'm speaking to you and looking at a screen, my feet are on a grounding mat, and so I know that I'm not taking in all of the EMFs around me. And then obviously when I'm sleeping, I'm using a grounding sheet. But yeah, I think as much as possible, I try to get outside and put my bare feet on the grass and connect with nature. So, I mean, after this call, I'll go and do that for a little bit and then I'll come back again. So, yeah, trying to break things up as much as possible by getting outside and
Hmm.
connecting to nature.
Oh, I love that. Are you a fan of wearing like blue light blockers at night?
I am definitely.
Hmm.
I have blue light blockers, but above that, I'm just trying to avoid screens
Yeah.
and trying to avoid too many lights. I still feel like even with blue light blockers, if you're looking at a screen, you're getting that mental stimulation.
Hmm.
So I try to avoid that where I can. Obviously, you can't all the time, but yeah, big fan of blue light blockers.
Yeah, I feel like for the eyes it's good. I definitely use them. Like I just got the raw optics ones that are like actually like orange, and they make
Yeah,
everything really dark. And I do like them. The one thing is, and my TCM doctor who does like acupuncture on me was telling me that if there's light, even if you have like an eye mask on, if your skin's exposed to the light, there's receptors in your skin, right? And I was like,
yeah,
"Are you kidding me?" Because sometimes if my husband's reading, I'll just put on an eye mask. And he's like, "Yeah, but your skin is still getting that signal that it's daytime." I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" It's just
yeah.
got to get like pitch black, I guess. But what brand
Have to
of blue
cover
light?
yourself up.
Yeah, I have to cover myself from head to toe. I'll like go under the covers. But what brand of blue light blockers do you like? Do you have one that you're like a fan of?
There's an Australian company called Block Blue Light.
Okay.
They're pretty huge, and I think they've sold over like 500,000
Oh,
products.
wow.
So yeah, they're a great Aussie company. Happy to give
Yeah.
them a plug.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'll definitely have to check them out. Okay, tell me about your earthing mat, grounding mat. You're on it right now, right? Is that one of your offerings? Like, is that one of your products?
It is, yeah. So most people come and get our grounding sheet
Mm-hmm.
because it's just so easy. You set it up, put it on your bed, and you never have to think about it again. You wash
Yeah.
it every 2 or 3 months, and you go to sleep, and you just sleep better. But the grounding mat is I guess our number two product that people buy. Essentially, yeah, it's literally just a carbonized rubber mat where I put my feet on it, and I can still wear socks. Obviously, can't wear shoes, but yeah, with your feet on that, it means that you're just not taking in all of the EMFs and the Wi-Fi and all the things that you probably take in when you're looking at a screen and sitting on a computer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, amazing. That sounds phenomenal for like during the workday too. Cause I know like I'm sitting here at my desk, or I'm like, that'd be great. Or I guess not even my desk, at my kitchen table, but just to have something under my feet. Just
Yeah,
or even like I feel like for pets, that could be something that's really good too. I have a
yeah, we've got a
very
couple of other mats.
yeah,
One that you can use on the couch, and we've got one
oh,
specific
nice.
for pets as well. The pets are a funny one because like similar to what I was saying before about how it's just a new thing for us that we're wearing rubber sole shoes and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure about you, but when in Australia, when I was growing up, all dogs were always outside. So
Mm-hmm.
24/7, dogs didn't sleep inside; they slept outside. And I'm sure 50 years ago was like even next level. But it feels like only recently that dogs are constantly inside. People go to
Yeah.
work and they leave their dogs inside. I even know some people who leave their. Hey, there
Speak.
you go. Speaking of, there's some friends who go to work on a warm day and they'll leave the AC on all day for the dog whilst it stays inside. So dogs these days are similar to humans. They're just not connecting to the earth anywhere to the quantity they used to. And we're seeing like 65% of dogs will either get diabetes or cancer these days, which just it's just a wild number. And they're like us. They're having to fight against EMFs and Wi-Fi and all those things that they never had to previously, and they're not discharging it by going on the ground anywhere near frequently enough. So we do get a lot of customers who purchase grounding mats for their dogs, funnily enough.
Okay, that is up my alley. So as you just heard, I have a little dog and she got mad at the mail. But I can't leave her outside because she's 9 pounds, right? And so like literally a large bird could pick her up. It's one of those
Okay.
situations. And
Yeah.
she's also just like such a baby, but she sleeps in bed with me. She goes everywhere. I'm that person who goes shopping like to boutiques, not to grocery stores, but like anything shy of a grocery store, and I bring my dog and she's like with me shopping, and like I'm
Okay.
that person. She goes
Yeah.
everywhere. And I literally like I make her homemade raw food. I'll spend like an hour meal prepping for
Nice.
her. And then she
Wow.
has
Lucky
EMF
dog.
protection on her collar. Like I will do anything for my dog's health if I think it has a chance of like helping her, right? Like I know I'm ridiculous and people tell me every day and I'm not ashamed of it. It's fine. So, but for me, like one thing I worry is she is inside a lot and she loves to be in her bed when she's relaxing and just finding those ways to, because I know like in the summer when we spend hours on the beach every day, she's so relaxed versus when we'll go for a long
Yeah.
walk, but when she's inside during the day, I do worry about that disconnection. And for me, like I'm very like ancestrally minded, and animals are meant to obviously be outside more. So having something, especially if you have a dog where like being outside isn't really the option, I think that would be fantastic. Is it like just a
Yeah.
mat? Is it a bed? Like how does it work?
Yeah, it's just a mat that goes, it can go in a bed or it can go on the
Mhm.
floor. It's like, I'm trying to think of inches. We talk in centimeters, but it's 47 by 60 centimeters, which would be, I guess, 20 inches by, it's around 20 by 25 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just a small mat that you put in the bed, and just a part of their body needs to be touching it.
Oh, I
But
love that.
interesting point you make about when you take your dog to the beach and how it's so much more relaxed. I think it's the exact same with humans, right? We
Mhm.
go for a walk on the beach, and all of us are just straight away, you just feel so much more relaxed, and we're connecting to the earth, and we're taking in
Mhm.
that energy. It's I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important for people to be outside when as much as possible. Obviously, dealing with the seasons, it can be harder. You can't it's be much harder to ground in the winter in
Yeah,
Seattle than it is in the summer when it's beautiful and sunny and we're like laying I bring my work with me to the beach and just relaxing there for hours. But I think it's important to find those ways to do it. And I feel like this is a great way to integrate that into the home year round, especially if you are dealing with the seasons where you don't want to be outside in bare feet and like
100%.
frozen
Yeah, we see.
temperatures.
Yeah, in not so much in Australia because it doesn't snow as much here,
Yeah.
but in Canada and the US, we see a big uptick in customers once it starts coming around to winter, because I
Mhm.
think people like to go outside, but if they can't, then it's the next best option.
Absolutely. Okay, here's a question. I don't even know if you have an answer to this, but curious if you do. So, for people, let's say they're like sleeping on slash wearing slash interacting with synthetic fibers, right? Like plastic, polyester, polyurethane, whatever, acrylic, versus people who are sleeping on slash wearing like linen and bamboo and wool and cotton, like natural fibers. Do you see a difference? Like, do you see from a frequency standpoint and just like an inflammation standpoint a general difference in those populations?
That's a great question. One thing we definitely do find is, so I think I mentioned this before, but our grounding sheet goes beneath your regular fitted sheet.
Hmm.
And so what we found is, if the regular fitted sheet is made from a natural fiber, such as cotton, linen, or some types of bamboo, then the grounding just comes straight through the
Mm,
fitted sheet. But if the fitted sheet has any polyester, most sheets don't have polyurethane, but if they had like a polyurethane, immediately the Earth's energy gets blocked, so the grounding
wow.
sheet doesn't work. Yeah, so that's really important. Yeah, I don't know about people sleeping on polyester and how that affects inflammation, but I'm just sure that it can't be good.
Yeah.
It's just pretty clear. If it's blocking the Earth's energy from coming through, then surely it can't be good for you.
Absolutely. Then I even think about like pajamas, right? If it's blocking through sheets, I would imagine through like pajamas as well. If you're wearing
Exactly.
like
That's right.
long sleeve, long pants, and people
Yeah.
wear,
Yeah. So
they're
yeah.
polyester pajamas. Oh, it kills me. It kills me. I
Yeah,
like,
which most are now. Like,
yeah.
surely 90% of products are made with polyester.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, cotton and linen is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. I've recently in the past year or so, because I feel like a lot of people they start with their diet and the exercise and they start with some of the biohacks and then they kind of realize that the biohacks aren't going to save them and then they go back to nature. That's at
Yeah.
least been my trajectory and the trajectory I see a lot. And so I feel like in the past year or so, I got really into non-toxic activewear, and a lot of that started for hormones because I learned that obviously like wearing polyester can decrease, I don't want to say obviously, I guess it's not obvious, but it can deplete progesterone for women by 75%. And we're
Yeah.
seeing stark rates of like infertility and people struggling to conceive and losing pregnancies, and I want to be sensitive around that. But I do think that what we wear and all the toxins we're taking in via the skin cannot be discredited as a potential cause of those things. And so for me, that got really major. And then I started to go down all the rabbit hole of all the non-toxic everything and all the natural fibers. And I feel like it has made a difference for me, not just in hormones, which it has, it did raise my progesterone, but just in like mental health too. Like I feel it's hard to explain, but when I put on like 100% linen or wool or cotton, like the way it feels on my body and like I feel like almost like the vibrational feel, which it sounds woo woo, but I do think I've gotten very sensitive to frequencies like of fabrics versus if I were to
Definitely.
put on something that was like pleather or like some sort of like polyurethane, polyester, it feels like my body settles into it differently. Like when I put on a natural fiber, it's like it has this relaxing, calming effect. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced anything like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like you just feel it. It's a
Mhm.
physiological thing that happens. But I think also psychologically, knowing that you're doing all that you can for your own health,
Mhm.
sort of like it twofolds the benefits. That you feel good, but also you're doing the best for yourself.
Yeah, I think there is such a good peace of mind, even if some things you're like, maybe it's gonna be working more quietly and passively and the effects are more long term, but knowing, right? Like knowing you're doing good, it does kind of bring peace of mind, and I think that translates into everything else, and the power of the mind is so powerful. Speaking of that, anxiety. So, we're obviously seeing, I think, with young people, especially like teenagers, people in their 20s, 30s, we're seeing an anxiety generation, I believe, like never before. What do you
Yep.
think are some of the stronger contributors to this rise in the prevalence of anxiety, like from what you're seeing in your perspective is?
I think generally anxiety is your body's way of telling you that something's off. So something's
Mhm.
wrong. And I think there's just so many things that are wrong with the way we're living now, or just so different to how we were made to be living and how we've been living for so long. So I think just the screens, constant screens, and the constant hit to our brains of stimulation. I think that's probably the first place to start. But I mean, where do you stop? You could go to the food, the water that we drink, the lifestyles. I think there's just we're being bombarded in all directions.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think our brains never really having a proper chance to break and just stop and rest and reset. That's the first place I'd probably start.
Mhm.
But it's hard. Like life's busy and there's so much to do all the time. And yeah, what do you do? I think if if anyone could get outside and just go away for 2 days and be in a like a little wood fire, a little camp or a log cabin somewhere for 2 days, I think they'll come back and just feel completely different
Mhm.
because they're stopping that stimulation of the brain. They're getting out in nature, and they're just connecting back to how we've lived for so long. That
Mhm.
would be my recommendation. But I know it's hard. It's so hard. Like life's busy, life's hectic.
Yeah, and I
What do
think
you think?
that's yeah, I agree. I mean, like so many people work. I mean, look, we're doing this interview right now, right? And we're on a computer and I have two bright box lights in front of me, right? And like yes, like that is part of life that's really hard to avoid, especially with so many jobs becoming remote too. Even now in the corporate world, like you don't have to be a social media influencer, podcaster to be on screen all day. When I was in the corporate world as a health coach, it was 9 to 6 on a computer, right?
Yeah,
And then people go from that screen to like when they're on break, their phone, right? And then they end the day and they do some scrolling and then they're watching a TV show or a movie and then they go to bed and then they wake up and the first thing they're doing is checking their email, checking their Instagram. And it's so hard to set boundaries, especially I think the hardest thing now is that people's careers are increasingly online. And I know I experience this. And this is why I think I struggle as well with being tired and wired. And like I talk about these things as somebody who's healthy, but I totally empathize with it because like it's literally impossible for me to grow my career on social media without being on social media and without being online, right? Like
yeah,
it's an unavoidable thing. And I'm like, okay, it's like
yeah,
it's the evil I have to face in order to do what I think I need to do, right? So, and that's where I'm like, okay, how do we set boundaries? I mean, it's so for you, I mean, you're online talking to me now, and I know you mentioned you like to take breaks a lot, whatever. Do you have I guess just any like hacks or like morning routines or just ways that you integrate more calm and quiet into your day to make sure that you're not just like getting the constant hits of technology?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Like we're obviously trying to help as many people as we can with grounding,
Yeah.
and social media is like the first place to get the message out.
Mhm.
And my head of marketing is constantly like, you need to do more videos, like tell people about your story, tell people about all the customer stories of people getting benefits. And I'm constantly like, oh, I don't want to be on my phone, but I have to put that message out.
Mhm.
And so one thing I'm really trying to do is just only be on my phone when I'm doing that, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to pick up the phone and be like, oh, I'm going to make a video now, and then you see the first video, and all of a sudden you're 30 minutes later, and you're like, oh,
I
I
didn't
just
even
got
make the video.
absolutely, you got sucked into the vortex, and now yeah, I just
Yeah.
haven't made the video. So I'm really conscious of when I do pick up my phone, only do what I set out to do, and
Yeah.
when I have small breaks, like don't pick it up. I used to just pick up my phone all the time, like yeah, I go have a tea break or whatever. Like I want to have a break for 5 minutes. The kettle is boiling and I'm on TikTok scrolling. Like
Yeah.
that used to happen with almost everything I did. Like I'd any spare moment, I'd pull the phone out. So I'm just really mindful to avoid doing that now. I
Yeah.
still do sometimes, but I think being mindful of it helps to just not get sucked in every single time. Because and
Mhm.
also one thing is knowing that the phone and all the apps on the phone is designed to keep your attention,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be outsmarted by these big corporations who are trying to suck me in so that they can
Yeah.
make more money. So it's just being mindful of that, and starting the morning slowly. So I used to wake up and just get straight into it, but
Mhm.
now I've got a daughter and another one on the way. I'm consciously trying to be slow in the morning and like have breakfast together, have a bit of a ritual around just like sit and talk for a while before getting on the computer and getting on the phone and things like that.
Yeah, well, and just like having time to wake up, I think that's so important for A, connection, but B, even like hormone health, right? Cortisol, like chronically high cortisol depletes progesterone once again. And for women specifically, obviously, like we're seeing this for men. As a woman and as somebody who does a lot in women's health, I obviously speak on the women's side a lot. But we're seeing like, okay, you have to be careful. You don't want to do things that are just going to unnecessarily spike your cortisol first thing in the morning before it's been able to naturally rise, right? And so like
Yep.
at least I always think at least having like an hour in the morning if you can manage with no screen. Like for me, I will wake up and eat my breakfast before coffee and then have coffee and like read
Yep.
my Bible and like write down my to-do list and take time to be quiet, and then it's like, okay, when I finished everything in the routine, then I can check my email, right? And it's been really profound versus I used to, sleep with my phone charging under my pillow, which, oh my gosh, I think about that now and I'm
Mm,
just cringing endlessly for so
crazy.
many
Yep.
reasons. I mean, people should not be near their phones when they're charging. Let's start there. And sleeping is just absurd. Sleeping next to your phone is absolutely absurd. But I used to do that. And if I couldn't sleep, if I woke up in the middle of the night, oh, I'll check Instagram, right? And
Yeah.
then wake up in the morning, have my phone alarm. So the first thing I'm doing is looking at my phone screen, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, like I have to tear myself away from it all morning. So it's so fascinating now how I'm literally like, no tech in the bedroom. If I see my husband's tech in there, I'm throwing it out. Turn off the Wi-Fi at night, like sunrise alarm clocks only. Like I've become so ridiculous on the other end, but it makes the biggest difference. I really think it makes a difference in physical and mental health. I don't know. Do you have like an alarm clock that you like, or do you try to wake up with the sun?
No, I haven't had an alarm. I think I've had one alarm in the last 5 years when I had to get up
Amazing.
for an early meeting. Like
Yeah.
luckily running my own business, and I've been doing this for quite a long time now. I don't need to worry about that. But I do have a different form of alarm clock, which is a 5-year-old daughter
Amazing.
who wakes me up every morning, runs in and gives us both a cuddle, which is a much nicer and stress-free way to wake up than an alarm.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think the morning routine you were discussing, that just sounds really nice. And I think not only are you concentrating on not spiking your cortisol, but you're also giving your brain a chance to get on with the day without spiking dopamine hits. Because
Mhm.
as soon as you start spiking dopamine, the brain wants more. And so if you open
Yeah.
your phone and you get that dopamine hit first thing, 5 minutes later it wants more, more. So you're setting the boundaries, I guess, with that for the day, And so it's not just going to help that first hour of your routine, it's going to help you all day long.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so important. I think that I still have a long ways to go. I will say I think kids probably are one of the best things to, if you let it, because everyone can be toxic as a parent, right? But if you let this experience change you, I've noticed even for me since getting pregnant, like I'm so much more careful because of EMF, right? Where I used to always have my phone on me because I wanted to track my steps or like be reachable. I've noticed, especially if like I'm with my husband, so I don't have to worry about like safety and like calling 911 if I need to, but I'm leaving my phone at home or at the very least putting on airplane mode and just like those little things. And even, I was writing down kind of newborn rules because I'm over the top about everything. And I was like, no one can use front facing, like no one can use screen while holding baby, no front facing camera selfies. I don't want my baby looking, I don't want it knowing what a phone is, right? It scares me when I see little babies reaching for the cell phone because they're like, ooh, screen. And then I'm like, no, also no holding baby if your phone is charging and you're using it. Like, I don't want baby next to a charging phone. It's got to be at least like 6 feet away. And so these little
Yep.
rules, and I've realized for me, I think, and it's sad because I think people should care about themselves enough to do these things on their own, right? But we often don't. And for me now thinking about this vulnerable life, I've been so much more careful with setting boundaries with technology. And so I do think that if you let that experience change you, it can be really maturing when it comes to boundaries. But then also like, oh my gosh, if you don't have kids, love yourself enough to do these things anyways. I think it's really
Yeah, for sure.
important.
I think a lot of people just aren't aware of the effects that it has on us and how it makes us
Yeah.
feel so wired. We do get a lot of mums who, we've got a couple of products for toddlers and babies. Like we've got a grounding sheet for cribs,
Oh wow.
and a lot of mums come to us because they sort of have this realization after they've been sitting breastfeeding one day that they're scrolling on their phone, and it's just what most people do, and
Mm-hmm.
can't blame them. Like, yeah, especially mums when they're sleep deprived and they just want to like scroll for a bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they've realized that, yeah, I shouldn't really be doing that, and so they end up getting grounding mats, and they're like on the grounding mats while they're breastfeeding. And they also, like, a lot of parents come to us and they're like, oh, we just realized we've been pointing the baby monitor at it. We've got the white noise in the room. We've got, obviously there's Wi-Fi,
Mm-hmm.
and just hits them one day like, oh, what am I doing? And I
Yeah.
think the first step is just to become aware of it, and then, yeah, build in routines like you're talking about, and protections so that your baby doesn't, I guess, get any of the adverse effects of the constant bombardment of the EMFs and the Wi-Fi and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so important to know like they have softer skulls, they're still developing, like they're so much more susceptible than adults. So for you with your wife obviously giving birth soon, I'm sure you've been kind of setting up and figuring out how you're doing things. So when it comes to your nursery, are you guys doing like the monitor and all the things, or are you just like no technology in the room? Like what's your philosophy?
Yeah, first time around we had a monitor in there, but this time around we're not. I
Hmm.
think also second time parenting, you're probably a bit. I think we're going to be a bit more relaxed, like
Yeah.
because you want to do everything right first time around. Well, not that you
Yeah.
don't the second time, but you realize second time that maybe some of those things didn't really matter. Like
Yeah.
if your baby is crying for a little bit and you don't hear, it's not the end of the world, and maybe it's a good thing rather than a bad thing. So, yeah, we're not going to use a baby monitor. There wouldn't be any technology in the room,
Yeah.
and I think just, yeah, we'll just try to get outside as much as possible, and live as naturally as possible, and yeah, avoid tech where we can.
Yeah, I love that. I've been thinking about maybe like just doing co-sleeping because I'm like, I mean, I want a nursery because it's cute, but like, I mean, honestly, for the first year, if I just co-sleep, then I'll know. And there doesn't have to be tech. And I feel like I've gotten so just because I've done so much work with EMF protection companies that I'm like, oh my gosh, or I guess an EMF protection company, I have really become so wary of it, right? Where I think a lot of
Yeah,
people don't even realize. I mean, it's one of those things you don't know until you know. And then once you do, you're like, is it more beneficial for the baby to cry an extra 2 minutes and like not be bombarded with radiation? Or is it more beneficial to, I'm like, nah, I feel like
yeah,
it's
I
more
think,
beneficial to not have the radiation.
yeah, I think so. And it sounds like intuitively, like the right thing, so you just roll with that, and
Mhm.
everything else is noise. Like, I think one of the hardest things for new parents, and particularly mums, is there's just so much information out there, and there's differing sides of both forms of information. So I think just go with your intuition,
Mhm.
and that's going to guide you the best, better than any information out there.
Yeah, for sure. Women have strong intuition. I think the problem is as a mother when they start to outsource their intuition versus I always
Yeah.
say in source, right? Like sometimes you have to get quiet and really think about and like reflect on what you think and why you think it and if it's coming from something. And I think when you actually let
Definitely.
yourself be quiet with that, the answer comes to you and it's pretty divine. So, okay, so you also mentioned at a young age, 23, I think you said you wrote a book on wellness. So you've clearly been in this industry for a while. I would love to know outside of grounding and everything you're doing with the kind of the electromagnetic health space, what are some of your favorite wellness routines to keep you and your family feeling good year round?
Oh, good question. So I've tried literally every biohack, health hack that you can think of. You
Love
name it,
that.
I would have tried it. Like I've gone through everything. I go through so many phases. Like I was ice bathing every day for a year, and then I like sauna every day, and
Wow.
like I just try everything. And yeah, 37 now. So I've probably been doing it for 15 years. But the last probably 3 to 5 years, I've stayed very stable, just doing the same core things, and I've sort of pushed everything out. So I don't ice bath anymore. I don't really sauna. I feel like some of us, me definitely included, can get sucked into thinking I need to be doing these things because they're good for me. But most of them don't really matter. I
Mhm.
think the key things that matter that I'm really focused on, getting outside frequently. And I don't agree that you should avoid the sun. I know a lot of people say you need to be careful of the sun, but
Mhm.
I honestly think that we can build up, our body naturally builds up a tolerance to the sun. And I guess I'm lucky to have olive skin, so I can get out there a bit more frequently. But yeah, just try to be in nature as much as possible. So whenever there's an opportunity to be outside, I'll do that. Try to move as much as possible, but not too much. So I'll just try to do maybe an hour of exercise a day, but not too vigorously. In the past, I probably would have just tried to go too hard, just run too far, or do too many weights. So now it's more about just like enough, but not too
Mhm.
much. Walk as much as possible instead of drive. And then just eat healthy and drink clean water. We've got a home filtration system here, so all of the water is filtered. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just eating as whole foods as much as possible. They're really the key things. And then having good sleep. Like outside of
Yeah.
that, I think everything else is maybe a tiny, tiny fraction of a percentage. If you
Mhm.
get those things right, and you have a good community around you, and be social where you can, I think they're like really the core things.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned whole foods. Plant-based or animal-based, where do you fall on the spectrum?
I'd lean towards animal based. And
Mhm.
again, I've tried everything. I've tried
Yeah.
vegan, vegetarian. I've tried carnivore. Like I tried blending all my food for a while. I've tried everything, and
Yeah.
I felt amazing doing carnivore for about a month. And I just
Mhm.
noticed before I was looking at your Instagram, I saw you had Dr. Anthony. Is it Chaffee? Is that how you pronounce it?
Chafee, yeah, he's come on a
Chaffee, yeah.
couple
And
times. Yeah, he's great.
yeah. He's got a lot of amazing information, and I watched quite a bit of that when I tried carnivore, and I felt great for about a month, but then I
Mhm.
went downhill, and I kept doing it for about another 6 months, and just got worse and worse.
Mm.
And same with when I tried vegan and vegetarian. I feel like everything feels amazing for like a month. Like for me personally, this is,
Yeah.
and then my body just starts to reject it. So it's taken me a while to figure out, like, just to not go too hard in any direction. So I'll have like predominantly animal based, but I'm having veggies, I'm having fruit, like a broad spectrum of everything, without going too hard either way. I feel balance is good for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Granted, I don't eat all veggies and I don't eat all fruits. Um,
Yeah,
but I try to eat like low toxin, like low oxalate, low phytate, low leptin veggies specifically. But that's also I have a
yeah,
history of like hypothyroidism. And so I'm really
yeah,
careful with those things, right?
yeah,
So I'll eat some like squash or I like carrots because they absorb like excess estrogen and things like that. But you will never see me with a kale bowl. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just
yeah,
eat
yeah.
steak for
Same,
dinner than
same
eat
here
that.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like that as well. I think if I do eat veggies, I'm pretty mindful of what I eat. Like I know
Mhm.
a lot of stuff's so sprayed now, so I'll try to avoid
Yes.
anything that's been sprayed.
Yes.
Eat organic where I can, but yeah, I don't eat a lot of veggies. Maybe might have like 1 or 2 serves a day.
Mhm.
And if I'm having veggies that can be peeled, even better. Same with fruit. Like I try to eat only fruit that can be peeled.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think just finding a balance there, and trying not to overthink it. I don't know if
Mhm.
other people like this, but I feel like sometimes I just overthink it and get sucked into like this is how you should be eating. But I find that I actually feel the best when I'm not thinking about it too much.
Yeah. Absolutely, like, be intuitive. Your body will tell you. I think I say that with the caveat, your body will tell you if you're detoxed and healthy and in a healthy state, it'll tell you what it needs. If you're chemically addicted to processed foods, your body will not tell you what it needs, and you need to detox before you can be intuitive.
Yeah.
But, so because I love the idea of intuitive eating, but I'm very careful saying that because you have people who think intuitively their body wants Doritos, and that's just never true. So I'm like, be intuitive once you have the foundations down. But
Yeah,
like
100%.
you have to detox. There is a period where your brain has to like rewire itself to not crave those foods. For you,
Yeah.
what do you think are some of the most overrated biohacks that we're seeing? We're seeing a lot of biohacks out there, so I'm curious if there are any that you think are dumb.
So I think the best things in life, not just biohacks, are anything that brings us back as close to nature as we've lived for
Mhm.
thousands of years. So anything that, anything outside of that, so I mean, you can tell me some biohacks and I'll tell you what I think of them. But I think things like ice bathing, like you don't need to do that. Sauning, same. What else is there?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What about like methylene blue? That one's gotten pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, so all of these things, I feel like you get a good hit when you first start them, but then
Mhm.
over time, the benefits aren't really there. I mean, I'll give a bit of a caveat to the ice bath thing. So I created, it was the world's first ice shower as a business a few
Oh,
years ago.
wow.
So it was like this device that you put under your shower head and you put ice in it and you have an ice cold shower.
Oh my
Because like
gosh.
for people who didn't have space for an ice bath, so I was like fully into that for a while. But I just felt worse and worse over time
Mhm.
because I think you get adrenaline from a lot of these things. Methylene blue, not so much, but like anything where you're doing something crazy to your body, you get the
Mhm.
adrenaline hit at the start, and you think that's a good thing, and maybe it is for a little bit, but then over time, it sort of doesn't really give you those benefits. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think supplements is a different story. Like methylene blue, and there's other supplements I still take, which I think are great, but I feel like they get marketed to us as this is what you need. This is going to be a big hit
Mhm.
and make you better. But I'm just not sure how much better that all these things actually make us. What
Yeah.
makes us better is a stress-free lifestyle
Mhm.
and connecting to nature and letting our body recover. Like adding things on top of a busy, stressful lifestyle, yeah, they help us a little bit. But how about we just not worry about the stress lifestyle and just go back to just trying to chill a bit, and
Mhm.
then everything that we take into our body is processed better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you there. I do like a good sauna in the winter. But I stopped cold plunging. I used to be really into like cold plunge sauna. Like I would go to one where you like go in like the hottest sauna I've ever been in to the point where like my skin would turn blotchy and red, like reacting to the heat. And then you go cold plunge in the lake in this winter, and then you go back and forth. And I noticed actually in the moment it was fun because it was social and like I'm like, this is good for me. And then the rest of the day I would feel super depleted.
Yeah,
And I don't feel that way when I just sauna, which I obviously am not doing right now. And that's fine.
yeah,
But when I would cold plunge, like I wanted to do it because I saw all the cool, like strong biohackers doing it. But I just honestly was so tired, like, the rest of the day, I would not, and sometimes I would get, like, migraines, and I would need an extra cup of coffee, and I'm like, "Okay, maybe this isn't good for me," and then I went down the, like, women's health rabbit hole, and, like, women shouldn't be cold plunging in super ice cold water. Men are
yeah,
more resilient hormonally, but for women, like, unless maybe you're during ovulation, there's really not much benefit of just, like, spiking your cortisol to that degree, especially when your body needs like chill. Because once again, progesterone, like we gotta
yeah.
minimize the stress on the body, especially during the second half of the cycle.
100%. And yeah, ice bathing is a lot of stress on the body. And stress is good for the body, but too much or prolonged stress obviously isn't. And that's why we
Mhm.
have all these issues now. So yeah, I think if you're going to do things like that, great. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're bad for you, but just be like selective in how frequently you're doing it and for how long you're going to do it.
Yeah. Okay, here's kind of a fringe one. I'm curious your thoughts. And I have pretty strong feelings on this individual. And he puts himself up for a lot of criticism. But so like I'm sure you've heard of like Brian Johnson, right? The biohacker. And he does things like obviously injects everything, like injects NAD, da da da, takes his or son's blood. I've heard
Yeah,
that. Like some
I've heard
crazy
that.
stuff. What are your thoughts on like that level of extremity? Do you think that's just like whack, or do you think there's any validity to what he's doing?
I've got a few thoughts on it. One is I think it's amazing that he's trying to push his body to determine, like, he wants to live forever. I think that's an amazing goal. Like, good on him for trying that. So that's the first thought. Second thought is, he's putting all these things into his body, but I feel from what I see from the outside, he doesn't have a strong social connection and community, which is something that I think is, if you look at all the blue zones and the people that live forever, they're usually surrounded by family, surrounded by friends and things like that. So I feel like he's sort of just like isolating himself a little bit in his pursuit, which might counteract the benefits potentially.
Yeah.
And then the third thought, which is like a skeptical thought, is he just doing this to make money? Like, he's now got the Blueprint products, which is like, he's pushing pretty hard online and on social media. Like, is this just another capitalist sort of like, I'm going to do this and have this story around what I'm doing so I can make money?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's where my skeptical brain goes. Maybe it's not, and maybe he's just using that as an opportunity to make money from his pursuit and his purpose. But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy. Hopefully he can learn a lot of things that will help society, and maybe he'll find something that will help us live an extra 20, 30 years of good years.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more positives to come from it than negatives.
That's an interesting perspective, because I've seen him. He gets a lot of negativity, and I feel like I can be hard on him too, because I'm like, the hubris. Well, first, when I saw him, I was like, okay, the hubris required to be like, I'm gonna live forever. But then I was like, wait, are you actually just afraid of dying? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm not afraid of dying because I know I'm gonna go. I'm like, are you like actually scared? But yeah, and I think the social connection part, it's like, in order to live forever, you also need to make sure you don't get hit by a car walking down the street. So I'm like,
Yeah.
are you living your whole life like isolated in your castle? I don't know. But that is a really fascinating perspective, and I think time will only tell, right? Like, we'll only see as time unfolds and as he gets older and older, and like, maybe there will be some wisdom to come out of it. Maybe there won't, but we'll see
It's
either
gonna be
way.
it'll be intriguing regardless. I think
Yeah.
it's a good, yeah, like you said, like, let's look back in 20, 30 years and see.
Yeah.
And whether it's negative or positive, I think both he and everyone else will learn a lot from it. So yeah,
Yeah.
good on him for giving it a try.
It's a good little experiment. So,
Yeah.
better him than me, I'm
Exactly.
good not experimenting, but I'm glad that someone's doing it so we can look at it and see what's going on. So, actually, before I ask you that, I love to ask all the experts, what is your current health and wellness goal that you're working on?
uh, I don't have any specific goal, which I think is good for me, because
Yeah.
otherwise I can maybe get too obsessive about how I should feel or look. But right now, it's just waking up feeling energetic every day and having a lot of energy to run my business and spend time with my family. That's it, really. And I think
Yeah.
um, by focusing on waking up feeling like that, then it makes me think that I need to eat healthily. Like, I don't want to eat too much bad food or drink too much alcohol or coffee and things like that. It's just, I want to feel great. And so everything else will sort of flow on from that. And I feel like I'm in pretty good shape now, both physically and mentally. And I just want to make that sustainable. And hopefully I'll look back in another 20, 30 years and be in the same mental and physical shape
Yeah.
and feel good and feel like I've given everything I can to my family and to my business. And yeah, I'm not pushing for things like a six pack or need to be a certain weight. I just want to feel great and be great for the people around me.
Love that. Amazing. So then where can people find you, find your company, shop your company if they're interested in going deeper, connecting, or grabbing some grounding master sheets?
Yeah, if anyone's interested, they can go to our website. It's premiumgrounding.com. And you can find us on social media as well. We've got quite a bit going on TikTok and Instagram. There's a lot of content out there now. So if you want to learn more about grounding, I think most people start out skeptical. And like I said before, I was skeptical as well. But then once you get into it and you learn more and you actually try it, most of our customers actually come from current customers because they try it and then they want to tell all their friends and family about it. So yeah, check us out online. Lots of content, and yeah, reach out if you have any questions. We've got a big team ready to help now.
Amazing. Well, you guys definitely check them out. And if you love this episode, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. I hope you learned something today. And until next time, we will chat soon. Thanks so much, James.
Thanks, Delaney.